Alrighty,
Yes, here we go.
we're good to go. So welcome to News of the
Hey
Weird,
guys.
where everything is real and the points don't matter. And you know everything's real because we can't make this stuff up, no matter how hard we try. My name is Charlie Cutro, and this is my co-host. That's you.
Nothing is real. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. None of this
Alrighty,
is
we're
real.
already getting
You're
to
living
the
in a
existential
simulation.
dread portion of the evening. That, that,
In all
that,
seriousness, yeah, this.
that only took 30 seconds.
Yeah, here we go. You ready for this one? This is gonna be a really great session.
That still doesn't answer the question of who the hell are you?
It's a really good question, man. This is Johnny Robertson. Hey everybody, welcome to our show. This is News of the Weird. Welcome to it. We're just gonna tell you about some weird things we found over the last several weeks that we wish were made up.
All right, so I believe
Yay.
this first story is one of yours. So
Yeah.
why don't we get going with that?
Yeah, so you guys know about that little thing we like to call coronavirus. It's really like hearing about that. So you should get happy to hear that Canada's been doing overall pretty well with that sort of stuff, and the world has started to notice. So here we are talking about stories of people trying to get into the closed border that is Canada. Howdy, neighbors. You jumping over the fence? Yeah, and by jumping our fence, we mean taking a boat from the west coast and trying to get into Vancouver by way of Alaska. As you all know, there is a little piece of America hanging off the upper left shoulder of us. It's called Alaska. It's a tundra little spot. So I guess there have been some people sailing up from the west coast, claiming they're trying to make their way into Alaska when approached by the Coast Guard, and finding a nice little port that isn't Alaska.
There's a few of them doing that by land as well.
Yes, yep. Sneaking their way across, claiming to make their way into Alaska.
But when
Getting caught in
Vancouver and
that's a
Alberta,
nice little spot. Call that Hollywood North.
Hollywood North. I mean, pretty much. It is where you go if you want to film something and film it cheaper than Hollywood. You know, while we're talking about different things of people crossing into Canada by maritime routes, are you familiar with the Port Huron floatdown?
No.
The Port Huron floatdown is probably the best example out there of how relaxed, which is a very good thing in the case of the world's longest border. It's a prime example of that. Essentially, what happens is every year in the St. Clair River, which runs between Ontario and Michigan. So the St. Clair River runs from Lake Huron down past Sarnia, down marking the border, all the way to Lake St. Clair, which has Detroit and Windsor on its southern outflow, which is the Detroit River. Now, every year, and this is an unsanctioned event in the eyes of both countries, neither of them particularly support this, and they always increase the border patrol numbers on the river when this happens. But the St. Clair floatdown is essentially thousands of Americans, and usually some Canadians, going and getting like just any flotation device, really. You can have inner tubes, you can have, if it floats, it works, and floating down 12 kilometers of the St. Clair River along the border, just essentially having a massive river party as they do. And there was a major question this year of how that was going to go. Thankfully,
it shouldn't have.
Yeah, it really shouldn't have. Now, the floatdown this year, thankfully, there were no incidents reported along the border, so there was nothing that any side had to handle. No Canadians are known to have participated in it this year, and there were a couple of hundred Americans, apparently, based on the news articles I could find, versus the several thousand. However, what's not known is how much of that was the impact of the pandemic and how much of that was very unfavorable weather, very unfavorable currents, and a fairly strong breeze on the day of the float down.
Well, I normally say, yeah, people Canadians are pretty good at braving the storm, but a lot of us do know the limitations and the danger of water and bad
Yeah,
weather.
exactly. And in this case, hopefully, a lot of people just decided that, you know what, it'd be a better idea not to do this year, because 2020! Yay!
It's probably like piranhas in the water or something. Or if you're or if you're Halifax, Nova Scotia, Portuguese man of wars.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, we've had like 2 sightings around here. That's great.
Yeah, wasn't there someone like stung in the water?
Yeah, there was a little girl, I think about 7, got stung. Those are no good.
Fair warning to anybody listening to this, as staying on topic is just not something we do here.
You like circles?
You like
We like
circles,
talking in them.
Pretty much. Circles, squares, triangle, anything but a straight line, really. Okay, so you had the various Americans showing up in PEI and Nova Scotia and Newfoundland and
Oh
whatnot.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, there was a whole stretch of like incidences over here in Nova Scotia and PEI where we had like no cases, and then like a bunch popped up because some guy decided to hop on in and like, oh, I don't need to self-isolate for 2 weeks. What do you mean? I'm fine. And then like got a bunch of people sick.
Fortunately, the ones in Newfoundland, it doesn't seem like anything really came from them, but the way they were caught was kind of interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where they were getting off their plane talking about how they didn't need to self-isolate, yada yada yada, and the stewardess on the plane actually shared in the citywide group for service workers that there's these American military guys talking about this, and to their credit, in that case, it may have been a legitimate misunderstanding. May have been, because there was a fair bit of.
There was some leeway.
Yeah, some leeway between the provincial regulations and the federal regulations, because in some provinces then they would have been right, whereas according to the Newfoundland provincial regulations, it just doesn't work that way. But I think I found last night when I was doing some research on this, I think I found sort of the best example of the one rotten apple that's giving everyone else a bad name or a case of blight or whatever you want to call it here. And that's the thing to keep in mind, is that most Americans in Canada that are actually coming up for a specific reason probably are good to be here, probably went through all of the official channels, and in a lot of cases they are ending up having problems due to the few that come across and are just like, oh hey, I'm gonna go on vacation somewhere and try and get away from all this and not self-isolate and yada yada yada. And that's the thing of it's not right to break people's cars based on the license plate that they have, because I mean I can attest. I've been living in Newfoundland for 11 months now, and I still have a Nova Scotia license plate on my car. So
yeah.
I know what it's like to have something that immediately identifies you as almost guaranteed being from a different place. And I was reading an account of one guy talking about that who had dual citizenship and was born in Calgary and was coming up to visit his father. So it's just a case of like John Horgan said in BC, be patient, be kind. Keep in mind that most people are probably here for a reason, but there are some, like the man I'm about to discuss here, who I found the account of last night, who are the ones just totally ruining this for everyone on both sides of the border, and they're definitely the ones that need to be brought up on the Quarantine Violation Act and the Coronavirus Act and whatever all the various legal acts for enforcing the closed border at the moment are. And
for sure. Definitely, Yeah, don't assume the worst, but take a look at this guy.
Yeah, literally. So
get a load of this guy.
It's worth noting, on July 31st, the Canadian side of the border actually tightened up its regulations regarding people to try and close the Alaska loophole, where, as you described earlier, people coming into Canada saying they were going straight through Alaska and then just sort of not.
Yeah, there's been a lot of those.
They've restricted border crossings for people going to Alaska to 5 different border crossings in Alberta and BC, and they've put a limit on the number of non-discretionary crossings daily, and they're requiring most travelers to register their vehicle and themselves and to display a mandatory departure date tag in their vehicle. Now, a lot of this was due to this guy, and this was a guy from Alaska who met a woman from Calgary online, and they decided they wanted to go get together, have a little, how shall we say, private getaway in Banff.
Oh my god.
Now they traveled to Banff, and of course he has an Alaska license plate on his truck, so he ends up getting caught for it.
Oh my god.
He was fined $850 and ordered to leave the country immediately. In response to this, and what the RCMP at the time assumed was just him being annoyed about getting a $850 fine and having his little weekend interrupted.
I mean, yeah, that's fairly lenient, all things considered.
Exactly, but we're not done with this guy yet.
Yeah,
we were not rid of him that easily.
Oh no.
He told the RCMP that he wouldn't be doing that, as he claimed that the pandemic is a farce, and was detected as not having left by the next morning when the two of them, the guy and the woman from Calgary, both showed up to a spa appointment. At that moment, they were kicked out of the hotel and were detected a little over an hour later trying to get on the Banff gondola. As a result, this guy now faces 6 months in federal prison, a fine of up to $560,000, which is less than the $750,000 that he could have been fined, and his court date is set for November. So really, what it boils down to is just, for the time being, stay where you belong.
Yeah. Make me is not a good response to being told that.
Yeah, it's like you've already been caught, and admit you screwed up. In this guy's case, admit you were thinking with a head different than the one on your shoulders, and get back to Alaska.
Just skedaddle on out of here, bud.
Yeah, the moral of this story is the more people that cooperate now, the sooner everyone can do what they want to do again.
Exactly. Well, that's why part of the reason why people say that this section of North America is like the safest place to be right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the majority of us in this side of the country, caught this stuff early. Yeah. Followed procedures and just overall took it seriously.
Exactly. And I mean, we had, that's one thing that I've always liked about Newfoundland relating to the COVID pandemic is, I mean, we're an island that not many people come to begin with. At the moment, we've only got essentially 3 ways into the island. There's a fourth if you count the ferry from Labrador, but that's no one that's non-local actually goes up that far.
Yeah, that's just going from within the province, basically.
I mean, you can get there from Quebec City on the Trans-Labrador Highway, but it's like 1,000 kilometers of dirt road, so no one's desperate enough to get in to do that.
No.
But I mean, that's like I said, that's what it comes down to. Is everyone stays where they should be for now, and by this time next year, hopefully everyone will be able to be where they want to be again. At that point, there'll still be restrictions on it. There'll still be precautions that have to be acknowledged, but hopefully
I
it'll
would be
be.
surprised if there were restrictions for a long time from now.
Oh, I figure until 2022. But
no, probably.
The one thing that I wonder about this is, in one article that I was reading, there were several Americans that were describing feeling attacked in Canada and being told to go back to their own country and being very wounded by this. So I do have to wonder if these particular experiences, if anyone that, I mean, let's make it very clear right now that Americans, particularly for their management at the moment, get a very bad rap on the global stage. And let's acknowledge the fact here that the vast majority of them are perfectly lovely, reasonable people.
Yes, for sure. When we rip on the neighbors underneath us,
Exactly.
we love you guys. You guys are some really upstanding people.
Yeah, exactly.
You just have some really great memes coming out of your country, man.
Pretty much. Yeah. At the same time, we just want to say keep it coming and please make it stop. And that's one thing that we always want to keep clear in this show is, yeah, we rip on Americans, but we do understand what y'all are going through right now, and it's not good, and most of you probably feel pretty darn trapped at the moment. So we're rooting for you. We love you guys. But what I've wondered with this is the lunatic fringe, we could call them, of sort of the less tolerant Americans.
And trust me, we have our own too.
What I've wondered is if Americans, just almost within sort of their own culture, having this experience might lead to some people sort of reviewing their understanding and being a little more tolerant and a little more empathetic towards immigrants and refugees and whatnot in the future.
Makes me hope.
Listen to over 500 radio stations from anywhere in Canada with Radio Player Canada, the must-have app that's as Canadian as you are. Smart, lovable, easygoing, fits in anywhere. From early morning hockey practices to late night after parties. Enjoy every type of radio station, anywhere, anytime. Listen through your phone, Sonos, Google Chromecast, Google Home, Amazon Echo, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto. Download the Radio Player Canada app today. It's where Canadian radio plays.
Providing airtime to independent artists everywhere. CHMR FM.
Well, we're on the subject of different things in America and Canada.
Yeah.
Here, why don't we move on to our second topic
Next
of
story?
the night? Yeah.
Next story tonight. Kangaroos.
Can you own one where you live?
Let's find out, shall we?
The answer is probably no, but I'm gonna.
So you can move on to the next story now.
Yeah. Before we get too
The
cursed,
short of it. Yeah, the short of it. No.
The short of it here is I was scrolling through Instagram one night and happened upon this particular map here, which is discussing the legality of owning a kangaroo in various states. And this led me to do some research, and for the record, I don't think this map is entirely reliable, but I'm going to quote it anyway, just as it's the thing that first led me here, and then go into sort of more in-depth stuff. So, the vast majority of states, it is illegal to own a kangaroo. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that you can do it with a permit. However, if you live in Wisconsin, West Virginia, or South Carolina, according to this map, then you are absolutely carte blanche on kangaroos. Have a kangaroo in your backyard, have a kangaroo in your living room, use a kangaroo as a coffee table. We don't care. Kangaroo probably cares, but they don't. But then this led me to take a look at the state of, how shall we say, exotic pets in various provinces and states.
States, yeah.
Because there was actually
before we move on, I
that?
just really like the fact that, I know this is not going to look really great on the broadcast, but the way they've got Hawaii on the state map, it's underneath Texas, and for each of the state names, they use their 2-letter acronyms. So it just looks like Hawaii is greeting Texas, because you see Hawaii and you see hi.
Hi, Tex.
Again, I never realized how much Texas looks like it's giving the middle finger, so you know. All right, cool. I broke Charlie. I broke him.
That's why they call it the Lone Star State. I don't know where I'm going with this.
I'd love to know too.
I don't know. It's a loan because it keeps flipping Oklahoma off.
Probably.
Oklahoma, more like Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, more like okay.
Coincidentally, you can own a Kawadi in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, here we go. There's a segue.
Let me tell you, I have got a funny Kawadi story for you. And I think I might have told you this story before, but I haven't told them this story before because this is the first episode of this that we've ever recorded. So,
Welcome to the show.
Coatis and where to find them. The answer is Mexico. You can find them there. And apparently Oklahoma in limited numbers. Now, before all of this started, I was in Mexico in December. And
you went at like the perfect time.
yeah, we literally flew back the day that the virus was first detected in Wuhan.
Yeah, it was like, oof.
That was like 80 years ago.
Yeah, it was like the first arc of this series. Yeah.
The 2020 teaser trailer that was dropped in 2019. Anyway, but Coatis, yeah. So when we arrived in Mexico, I had been up for about 36 hours straight because our plane had left Halifax at, I think it was like 4 a.m. And we had a 2-hour drive to Halifax. So it was like 2 a.m. when we left the house. And I was flat out exhausted. And I wasn't the only one. So we all ended up falling asleep at like, I think it was 6 p.m. or so. And I woke up sometime in the middle of the night, like 2 to 3 a.m. And we'd been so tired. We just walked from the lobby straight through to the room, gotten some food, and then just crashed. So we hadn't even explored the resort yet. And I realized I wasn't going to be able to sleep for a couple of hours at least. So I decided I was going to get up. So I grabbed my key, went downstairs. And the way the resort was designed, it had this long walkway through a bunch of foliage and palm trees and whatnot. And so I was going along the walkway, and it's really dimly lit because it's designed to look like it's lit with torches. So it's got this really flickery light, and there's a bunch of, not feral cats, but semi-tame cats that run around the resort, and they keep it free of rodents and whatnot. And something jumped up on the railing. And I thought, oh, hey, it's a cat. I'm going to try and pet this cat. So I'm walking up behind it, and I reach out, and I grab the tail, and the tail, I all of a sudden realize, is way too long for any cat. So I'm just standing here holding the tail of this creature that I'm very quickly realizing is not in any way a cat. Anyway, regarding kangaroos.
Yeah, back to kangaroos here.
Basically, what my research determined is that U.S. regulations are a lot more down to the state as to how they regulate exotic animals and whatnot. And Canadian ones, there are federal guidelines, but each province also is able to determine what they want. And I found the ranking on a scale of 1 to 10 of how Canadian provinces are ranked regarding their laws for exotic pets. And what I found was that Manitoba, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, and Ontario all score a 1, which means their regulations are horribly loose. There's absolutely nothing regulating, essentially, the sale of much. And you actually had a point about Ontario, didn't you, that I remember?
Yeah, there are only 2 named banned pets in the province. You want to hear them?
I think I remember one of them just because as I was falling asleep last night, it was spinning in my head trying to figure out how the heck someone managed to keep one of these. And I know logically it was to do with like parks and whatnot, but yeah, fire away.
Yeah, it was number 1, pit bulls, and number 2, killer whales. That's a pretty 0 to 10 if I've ever heard of one.
It's the question that I have though regarding pit bulls and killer whales.
Yeah.
If you figured out a way to have a killer whale, who's gonna stop you?
Ontario, I guess. Somehow. Someone call in the illegal pets department.
Remember, kiddies,
like
if you have a killer
dog.
whale in your backyard, Doug Ford and John Tory will show up to whack it with a rolled-up newspaper.
Yeah. If someone calls you in on an illegal pet, they're going to send either a dog catcher or representatives from SeaWorld.
I mean, that's why orcas are illegal in Ontario.
Yeah,
It was to stop Marine World from being able to keep them because it's straight-up animal cruelty, keeping marine mammals in captivity.
Yeah. Jokes aside, there's a reason why these exotic pets are not kept as pets.
Exactly.
They're animals.
Yeah.
They're not domesticated.
Literally. Do not try to be the next Joe Exotic. Don't do it. Remember, don't be Tiger King, watch Lion King! on Disney Plus.
No. Our second attempt at getting a sponsor tonight.
Now we're just bootlicking for a sponsor.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about rat licking later on in this episode.
Oh god. We're just gonna let that hang for several minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so carrying on with the
back
rankings
to
of
this.
back to the part that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
The regulations.
Back to the script.
Back to the script. Meanwhile, back at the ranch. I thought I ordered Caesar. Anyway, yeah. So,
Oh no.
Alberta, BC, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Quebec, and Yukon all score between a 4 and a 6 on this scale, which is counted as a passable but needs work. Saskatchewan pulls ahead. That my phone with the timer just fell and made a sound. I don't know if anyone can hear it, but I'm going to talk about it. Anyway.
I didn't hear it.
Okay. Anyway, the Saskatchewan pulled a 7, and PEI ranked with a perfect 10. Now, as you actually mentioned in your notes, you had talking about the kids with the was it a boa constrictor or a python in New Brunswick?
Yeah, the rock pythons, yeah.
Yeah, the one that squished two 10-year-olds after escaping. Yeah.
2 boys got strangled to death, yeah.
Yeah. Weren't they like at a sleepover or something?
I wasn't able to find like the exact details from it, but
it's one
likely
of those
circumstance.
Yeah. It's one of those things I have a vague memory of when the story was originally printed, like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah, you're right on the nose. It was 2013.
It's 2015 or 2013?
2013, I said, sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Are my S's popping too much?
I don't know.
That's valid. Because I feel like my S's are popping a lot, but that could be just the way I speak.
Sounds fine to me.
Perfect.
I mean, I would say that's a question for the audience.
Vote now on your phones. Is Johnny a terrible host?
Vote no, or we'll find you.
What a great way to start off the first episode.
Threatening the audience.
Threatening the audience and self-doubt.
Oh, that's millennialism right there.
Ah, yes.
Anyway, so I after looking into the Canadian provinces, I decided to take a look and see what various things were legal, and these are legal without permit in various U.S. states. And the following is my list of things that you can own, however you shouldn't own, and if you do own, we will find you and we will report you to Carol Baskin or something.
Oh no!
Oh no! Don't do that! Anything but that!
No, neither of us have actually seen Tiger King.
Yeah, I hadn't even had Netflix in I don't know. I think the last time I had it was like January.
Oh yeah.
Back when we were still allowed outside.
Oh yes.
Anyway,
I mean, you guys weren't. You had that big snowstorm.
This is true. Yeah, where we were in a state of emergency for like 10 days from Snowmageddon. Anyway, so in Alabama, you're allowed to own tigers without a license. You can own bison in Georgia without a license. I mean, did you know there used to be a bison farm in the Annapolis Valley back in the 70s?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was actually right around the corner from where my mom lives. It was they had like bison and ostriches and whatnot.
Well, I remember there's that farm out by Kingston that has the llamas.
Yeah. There's a few places that have llamas. One time I got lost in the woods and just ended up wandering through the woods and eventually just came across a bunch of llamas.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to our friend who had that llama phase.
Oh, God. Anyway, Nevada in general is terrible for what you can have because, of course, they're trying to support the Los Angeles circus industry. So you can own elephants without a permit in Nevada.
That's gross.
Ostriches in New Hampshire. Now, this one is the first of my favorite things on here, which is in North Carolina, you are not permitted to keep skunks or deer without a permit. However, no permit is required for lions, tigers, or bears.
Oh my.
Indeed.
Was that too obvious?
No, that was good. That was good. One of us had to do it.
I actually had that written for my my bit later on when I was talking about the legality of lions and tigers in Ontario. There's estimated to be about, I think they said 500 privately owned lions and tigers in Ontario. No mention about bears though. What about the bears, man?
That's terrifying, honestly, that the bears are just like a secret bears.
The secret organization of bears.
The SOB.
The SOB.
Were they hiding them SOBs?
Their secret organization of bears.
Okay, so I know where the secret organization of bears was. So as you know, I was in Nova Scotia a couple of months back, and I had to do it. I had to go and do it to get stuff done that was like critical before the Atlantic bubble came in. So I had to be isolated the entire time. So I didn't get to talk to people very much because I was staying out at the cottage doing the work there that needed to be done. And anyway, at one point, my aunt came up to visit, and she looks at me and she goes, "Have you seen any bears?" And I said, "Well, I saw one on the drive down through Cape Breton." And she said, "Well, apparently there's this woman on the other end of the lake that's feeding like 30 bears." And I said, "What?" Yeah, apparently that's why there's a bunch of bears wandering around here, is because there's this one person that's just coming and feeding a whole bunch of bears. And I said, "Well, you know what? First off, don't feed bears. Don't do it.
No,
Bad idea.
It's the worst thing you can do.
If it's
Bears
not,
remember where they get food.
exactly. If it's not your dog, your cat, your neighbor's dog, or your neighbor's cat, or maybe
Or
a
your
chickadee
neighbors.
or something, yeah, you feed your neighbors. Bring your neighbors lasagna. They'll love you for it. When
No,
you need someone to cat sit, you go in and go, "Hey, remember when I brought you that lasagna?" Bears will not cat sit for you.
No. They will break into your house and play your piano, but they will not feed your cats.
And they won't even play it well.
No. I mean, he was trying his best.
That's true. We got to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
with the what's that?
I mean, there was that whole big deal just last week. There was a town, I want to say in Ontario, that literally they had to send in animal control after a bear and put it down because it had gotten too friendly with the local residents who were feeding it.
That's actually one problem in, particularly in Great Smoky Mountains National Park in the States on the border of, I think it's North Carolina and Tennessee, is the Appalachian Trail runs right through the middle of the park, and bears will come and they'll be around the picnic area. And of course, tourists come in, they go, "Oh, I want to get a picture with a bear." And it's the most stupid example of it being back in the early 90s when some woman decided she wanted a picture of a bear with her toddler. So what this absolute genius did was smother their toddler's arm and hand in honey and hold it out for the bear to lick it off. The bear, unfortunately, did not understand this and proceeded to eat the toddler's hand. Now,
oh, God.
Bears that don't get caught in circumstances such as this end up getting tranquilized and dropped in the middle of the backcountry in the park. But the problem that comes up there is with the hiking trail going right through the middle of the backcountry of the park, the bears then just randomly start mugging various hikers. Yeah. So don't keep bears. Don't feed bears. If it's a wild animal and it's bigger than like a chickadee or a squirrel, do not feed it. If it's a carnivore, do not feed it. If it's a moose, please don't feed it. They get weird if you start feeding them.
They destroy cars.
Yeah.
No matter what you're driving, a moose wins.
Yeah, unless it's like
wild.
Well, unless it's like an 18-wheeler or something.
It'll still do some damage to it.
Oh yeah. Moose are nature's speed bump.
I really like that analogy. That was a good one.
Anyway, as for the woman with 30 bears, all I can say is, Lord knows she's not right, but if there's 30 bears answering her beck and call, I refuse to be the one to confront her about it.
The queen of the bears.
Queen of the SOBs.
It's the Tiger King and the Bear Queen.
I would say a match made in heaven, but wasn't one of the main points of Tiger King that he already had like 2 husbands?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Didn't he get eaten Didn't he get eaten by the bear? Not the bear, the lion, tiger. Oh my god! Gonna cycle through all my big animals here.
He's in.
I thought the whole point was that he got eaten by it or something.
No, he's in prison now after a failed presidential run for hiring a hitman to try and kill Carol Baskin that runs Big Cat Rescue, and I guess the point behind it was supposedly because Carol Baskin's millionaire husband went missing like back in the early 90s, and there's the whole conspiracy theory of, oh, well, she fed him to the tigers, yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
I think that's what it was. But anyway, with the...
That shows how little I follow Tiger King.
I literally know what I know from memes. I'm pretty sure everything I know against my will.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so...
Yep.
So the last thing to close out this topic before we move on to the next one is just Rhode Island. Sorry, not Rhode Island, Tennessee. Rhode Island's the previous one. In Tennessee, you are not permitted to own chipmunks or mice. Chipmunks or mice are no-go. However, giraffes are permit-free, apparently.
Weird.
As are caiman, monkeys, and sea otter.
Yeah, a lot of those are not really allowed here in Canada either.
Yeah.
Giraffes are specifically banned in BC anyway.
Yeah.
And most provinces have banned the owning of monkeys and other primates, particularly after a certain incident in Ontario where one decided to go on a great big IKEA adventure.
That reminds me of the law of it's illegal in, I think, North Carolina. I might be incorrect there. It's been a long time since I read this, but I think it's North Carolina, where it's illegal to plow a field with an elephant because in the 1920s or 1930s, P.T. Barnum's circus was in town and they plowed several fields with elephants, but the problem is the fields had already been seeded, so basically they just created widespread famine in this town by destroying all of their crops for the winter. So ever since then, it's been illegal to plow fields with elephants in North Carolina.
Oh yes, what a classic thing to do. Blame the tools.
Yeah, they were literally just victim-blaming elephants.
The future of animals everywhere is at risk. In the last 40 years, over half of the world's animal populations have disappeared. Biodiversity is in crisis, and we need to do something now to reverse this alarming trend. Earth Rangers knows that no one cares more about animals than our children, and by providing them with the tools and the inspiration to take action, kids can make a real difference to the survival of wildlife. Already, thousands of children across Canada are joining forces as Earth Rangers to help protect animals and their habitats. To get your child involved or to make a donation, please visit earthrangers.com.
There are some things that just resonate with us Newfoundlanders, like moose hunting.
Get me moose, boy!
A little nip of screech.
Like you would.
And even going on the pogey.
And it's you I see, standing in the long line.
But there's one thing that every Newfoundlander can't resist on a Sunday afternoon, and that's a big feed of Jig's Dinner. Tune in to 93.5 CHMR FM every Sunday at 1 p.m. for Jig's Dinner. Join your host Roland Skinner as he serves up a deliciously diverse menu of Newfoundland traditional, country, and folk tunes to feed your Sunday afternoon music cravings. That's Jig's Dinner every Sunday at 1 p.m. and only on 93.5 CHMR FM.
Providing airtime to independent artists everywhere. CHMR FM.
Anyway, shall we move on to our next topic? And this one's
Let's move from one thing to another.
this one. Let's move from discussion of elephants to the party that has an elephant.
Oh yeah, Republicans.
This one, I'm just gonna sit back. This one's all you. I might throw in a couple of things at the end.
Alrighty. So you guys heard of TikTok? It's
Goes
not
the
just
clock.
the noise. Yeah, it's not just the noise a clock makes. That's the noise that the Gen Z makes when they're on their social media apps, because that's what TikTok is. And it's come under fire rather recently after a little bit of controversy after countries have started considering banning the app from use. Donald Trump had recently made an announcement in the last 2 weeks that there are in talks of being banned in the United States. It's not the first one to do so. India has already moved to ban the app. What I find most interesting about this is that a lot of American companies have considered buying at least the American branch of the social media app's parent company.
Parent company, it's called ByteDance.
That's ByteDance, yeah. And I guess there has been a little bit of confusion about whether or not they're actually going to be allowed to do that anyway. Doesn't do a whole lot anyway, since it's still the app's main servers are still based in China, which is what many of you believe is the center of the controversy behind this app, is the differences in how China governs social media usage.
There's actually been an article that I found this morning that was published fairly recently talking about the actual, how much of an actual security threat it is, and essentially what it's boiled down to is all of the cybersecurity experts that have been consulted have all said, well, it could be a major security threat. However, it's mostly theoretical. There's no proof it's being used as such, which really makes it on equal standing with sort of American-based companies like Facebook and its subsidiaries such as Instagram and other things like Twitter. And one thing that they've also discussed that no one really knows if it's true or not is apparently the servers that TikTok uses to store its user data are actually located outside of China in a different jurisdiction, though they did not say where. And one thing that ByteDance said is it would resist all efforts by Beijing to actually secure their data and be able to use it. They've also claimed they plan to continue operating in the U.S. regardless of what they have to do to do it. So it'll be interesting to see what comes down with, as you were saying, like the buyouts by such companies like Microsoft and whatnot.
Yeah. So all you TikTok dancers out there in the States, don't put away your dancing shoes yet.
And it also I mean, it also may like just totally fall off the wagon if there's a shift of power in the States in the fall, because part of what it could be is, and a couple of different things that were suggested for possible reasons as to why Republicans are currently so determined to ban TikTok is one is just there's sort of the back and forth. You can't even really say this is between the U.S. and China, because it's between the U.S. and Canada and China, sort of that trade war that started with Huawei.
Yeah, Huawei.
Huawei. Yeah, I always say that wrong. I don't know why.
That's a weird thing to say if you're not used to the pronunciation.
Yeah. Yeah, but the other thing that started and why it's one thing that's being talked about, why it could be in the spotlight in the States right now, is several parent groups and like parent watchdog groups and whatnot have spoken out against TikTok, saying that it's an invasion of children's privacy and puts them at increased risk from pedophiles or human traffickers, which, I mean...
Sounds like a social media site.
Yeah, pretty much. When it comes to TikTok, it's a case of I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's pretty darn cringy.
Oh yeah, neither of us use it. Just to put that out there. Neither of us use it.
It's pretty darn cringe, and honestly, I think maybe they could have a point there, but really no more than Instagram or any other visual-based social media service. But what it comes down to is when you start talking about, in this case, banning one of the biggest apps in the world, it starts to set a dangerous precedent unless you have 100% secured evidence that it is, as they're claiming, a national security threat or a threat to children's well-beings and whatnot. Whereas in this case, it may just be sort of an election tactic to try and get sort of voters that are on the fence to go, oh, hey, they're protecting people and national security, let's vote for them.
Yeah. Though even then, something like that could also be a backfire. So, oh no, this is a form of government censorship. We need to get these guys out of here.
And well, we're on the topic of claims of government censorship. Masks and the people who refuse to wear them.
Oh, Oh,
why
you hear
they
that
need to
sound?
be shunned from polite society.
You hear that sound? Do you hear that sound, Charlie? You hear that? I could hear it. It's the Karen alarm.
Oh, okay.
It's
I thought
the
you were
Karen
talking
alarm.
about the weird ringing in my left ear, and I was trying to figure out.
That's the Karen alarm.
Oh, God!
That's the Karen alarm.
It's here.
This is not a drill, everyone. We never need everyone to hunker down right now. We got ourselves a Class A Karen alarm right now, coming right to you.
Okay, so in today's Karen alarm, what we're discussing is people refusing to wear masks and the reasons why they have put forth to justify this. Some of them, I believe, are worthy of actual intelligent discussion, and some of them are the goddamn Freedom to Breathe Agency.
FTBA, you ever heard of them?
Which, if you haven't, is basically a neo-Confederate platform.
It doesn't exist.
That's it needs to not exist within 4 months, as the original one only lasted 4 years.
1 month for every year.
What these people are doing is they've been holding rallies, and they actually use the Confederate flag for this because they are stupid. And what they've begun doing is printing exemption cards that they then hand out based on A, incorrect political knowledge, B, incorrect science, and have I been doing numbers or letters for this?
I can't remember, man.
And trace.
I finished this can like 15 minutes ago.
Okay, we'll just
and
go
I started. Yeah.
We'll just go with 3, because 3 is just because apparently their heads are thicker than oak.
Yeah, there we go. We're putting ourselves in the mindset of a Karen.
And believe it or not, the other day, and this one I know I actually haven't told you about yet, there was a person who tried to go into the Walmart just up the road in Torbay, who ascribed to their ideology and tried to claim their freedom through them. This person apparently tried to go into the Walmart in Torbay without a mask, and for those people that don't know, all Walmarts in Canada, and I don't know if in the States, but in Canada, are mandating masks at the moment. You have to have a mask to go in, and
I'm pretty sure it's in all over the States as well.
I think so, but I'm not totally sure. And a Newfoundland-wide mask mandate is also coming down on Monday. So apparently this one...
I thought you guys already had one.
No, not yet. The previous government didn't put one in, and then when... Because we just got our new premier 2 days ago. So when...
Happy new premier.
And our new premier is a doctor, so he should be better equipped than most to understand it and deal with it.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so this person tried to go into Walmart without one, was offered one by the greeter, threw it on the ground, and then proceeded to spit at the greeter, and then went on Facebook to complain about getting kicked out of Walmart, and proceeded to get absolutely roasted to a crisp on the local radio.
Which is us, by the way.
Well, I mean, different radio station than we're going to be broadcasting on, but...
Us, yes. Yeah.
There's also...
All right, Ron. All right, Ron. That's my new... if there's a particular Karen-like person who identifies as a male, they're a Ron.
Yes. And... Anyway, there's also a woman, for her privacy, I'm not going to mention her name here, that's been leading a anti-mask, how shall we say, crusade in St. John's, and her arguments, I think, best sum up the entire anti-mask crowd quite well. And the thing that gets me about this person, the thing that thoroughly and totally annoys me about this person in question, is she ends her statement on why people shouldn't wear masks talking about, oh, well, they do work meaning she understands how they work. And her arguments are that people who have experienced trauma cannot wear masks because they can't cover their faces. Now, I want to make an important distinction here. There are people out there who do suffer from anxiety and various other sort of mental illnesses that will be unable to put one on. That's understandable. They can be pretty claustrophobic, even to the rest of us. And I myself had to wear one when I got back from Nova Scotia and I was in 2 weeks quarantine in the apartment. I wore one around the apartment from time to time just to try and get used to it, because I did find them pretty claustrophobic too.
Yeah.
So I can understand that. If you flat out can't have one on without having some kind of panic attack, then yeah, make sure you keep your distance. Try and go in low hours. Stay far away from anyone that could be at risk. Try to make it work. If you can, try and get used to wearing one. But if you absolutely flat out can't, then allowances have to be made. And that's what leads into this person's second claim.
There's always going to be exceptions to stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact of the matter is 99% of the population is able to wear it and should. And that's what led to the next point. And what really annoys me about this one is it's okay if you have some sort of mental illness that you can't wear a mask. Understandable. Don't drive yourself into a deep dark hole trying to wear one, but be absolutely 100% on top of everything else that you can do in order to make up for it. And that's what annoys me with this person's next point, is talking about how, people, if they're not wearing one, have to live in fear as social pariahs because they're not allowed to go near anybody if they don't have a mask on. It's like, if you don't have a mask on, that's the least you can do to try and protect everybody else.
That's the whole point.
So any particular point that this person has made may actually stand on its own, but all of them put together is literally just this person talking about, oh well, I know they work, I just don't want to.
Yeah, I don't wanna. That's like me telling, like, when I used to work as a camp counselor, like, all right, children, let's get our bathing suits on. We're gonna go swimming lake. I don't want to. It's like, well, you gotta put your bathing suit on. I don't want to.
Yeah.
But that's like, it's the most childish response I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating. As a person who works and has worked, largely throughout this pandemic, even wearing masks when I didn't even have to, I worked my 8-hour shifts wearing the masks, and have all these people just kind of grumbling when they don't want to. Granted, side note, where I work, where I live, things have been actually working really well on the mask front. Most people, I've probably only had to talk to maybe 2 or 3 people over the course of a few weeks to try and put their masks on. For those of you who don't know, Nova Scotia already has a mandatory mask policy put in place. It went up end of July, and since then things have been, for the most part, really good. But it is really frustrating because, a lot of us are putting ourselves in a situation where, the chance of infection is very real, working with the general public. We don't know where you've been. We don't know who you've been with. But we're still doing our best to serve you and keep things going as smoothly as possible for you people. And to not, at least, to quote a famous doctor, not to throw us a frickin' bone. It's really frustrating.
Yeah. And there's like the one other argument that people have been making that I actually I put some thought into, and I'm gonna try and summarize it fairly quickly. Is people talking about, oh well, I don't wear one because of religious exemption, whatever, and it's a case of, well,
where
it's a case of, well, but part of me, I will admit, wants to look at that and go, oh, well, that's friggin' stupid, and my entirely atheist self. But that doesn't help. That kind of thing doesn't help the situation. That just creates, okay, we have one polar opposite over here, we have one polar opposite over here, now fight each other for 3 weeks. Yeah, that doesn't help. So what I look at that, and what I put as a takeaway to that, is the one effectively golden rule in just about every religion out there is just take care of each other. Treat people like you would want to be treated. So you think about it, people claim, oh, well, it's a religious exemption, whatnot, but all of these various deities and prophets and guidance figures in just about every religion out there, and this is essentially me speaking as an anthropologist now, as which which is my
from atheist to anthropologist,
which is I mean my field, but effectively what it comes down to is, like I said, just people need to look out for each other. That's what it all boiled down to, is what they need to do. So yeah, it might be uncomfortable for a little bit at a time, and Lord knows I know it can be. I used to work a job cleaning out chicken barns where we had to have full respirator on, and if you didn't, you would have ammonia poisoning to the point that your lungs would be essentially bleeding inside of 15 minutes, and it all was 40 degrees in there, and it can be terrible at times. But the point is, the more people that wear masks, the faster we get back to not having to wear masks. The more people that do it now, we can curb this thing, we can stop community spread. In a lot of cases, we can eradicate it.
Yeah, we've seen whole communities be free of COVID for, in some cases, months at a time up this way.
Exactly. I mean, New Zealand had a period of about 3 weeks where they were able to go back to living exactly as they had pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the pandemic, because they managed to eradicate the disease from everywhere. But effectively, that's what the whole mask conjecture boils down to, is just, if you're looking out for only yourself, then there's only one person looking out for you, whereas if everyone looks out for each other, then there's 7 billion humans on the planet that have got your back.
Yeah. So that's the whole frustrating point for me about these masks, that people are so focused on. It's like, oh yeah, these masks are going to protect you. It's like, no, their masks are not for you. They're for everybody else you come into contact with during the day.
Exactly. And a lot of people that refuse to put them on, they say, well, it's an image thing. And it's like the one that I messaged you about earlier, that particularly I think summed this up very well, was Robert O'Neill, which if anyone doesn't know, is the Navy SEAL from SEAL Team 6, I think it was, he hasn't been officially credited with it. It hasn't been confirmed or denied by the US military, but he's been claiming since 2011 to have been the Navy SEAL that killed Osama bin Laden. And he was today banned from Delta Airlines for refusing to wear a mask on a flight. And in his tweets discussing it, in his defense of himself, he claimed, oh, well, he had a mask on his lap and was going to put it on. However, his previous discussion of it was that he refused to cover his face with and in his words, dumb word I can't say on the radio, mask, and that he refused to put on a mask because he was not a word that could also apply to a cat or a willow. And like in this case, this is 100% an image thing going on here, and it's like that it totally backfires for this guy too, because I mean he made it through freaking Navy SEAL training, airdropped into one of the most dangerous places on the planet, and no matter what side of the issue you're on, that takes training, that takes guts. But then when you refuse to put on a mask because your ego is so goddamn fragile that you can't do that after having done all this, that just makes you look like an idiot.
Yeah, the elephant is frightened of a mouse.
Exactly, is literally what it boils down to.
But the mouse is here to protect you from the large amount of pestilence that is going to kill you if you don't stand behind the mouse.
Pretty much. So effectively what it boils down to is, or what I think it boils down to, is what we've discussed before, is just look out for each other, take care of each other. This is global. This is one of the few things on the planet that is truly 100% global. We're all in this together, and there's no getting out without cooperation.
Yeah. We all need to ride this storm out together, whatever we're on.
Yeah, exactly. We're all in this together. We've all got all your backs. All of you have everybody else's backs. We'll get through it.
Yep.
Alrighty, and on that note, it seems we've reached the end of our time for tonight. So, For more material, in which time we will discuss the Mandela effect, the Wayfair conspiracy of the summer, and the Dalai Lama having a #1 album on the New Wave charts, tune into our next episode.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in to listen to us talk about random stuff. Happy to have you join us.
Good night, everybody.